Daniel Defoe was born in 1660 and died in 1731. He was born in London and he started working as a merchant, but he was also a traveler and he went all around Europe. Was also politically committed and was a pamphleteer. He was also arrested because he had been ironical towards religion in one of his pamphlets, but then he became a spy for the Tory leader and he was released. He started writing prose and novels quite late in his life, at the age of 59, and he died in London. Well, one of his most famous works is The Life and Strange Adventures of Robinson Crusoe of York Mariner, that was written in 1719 and was influenced by his previous works as a journalist and a pamphleteer. This story was based on the memoir of voyagers and castaways. He also wrote another fictional autobiography that is Moll Flanders, and the protagonist is a prostitute. Another important work is Roxana. Robinson Crusoe was written in 1719. It's one of the most famous adventure stories in English literature. And it tells about a man shipwrecked off a desert island. He lived on this desert island for 28 years and then he was rescued. But the story is divided into three parts dealing with different topics. The first part is about Crusoe's early life, so we know everything about his voyages, his adventures, and how in Brazil he became a plantation owner, how he went to Africa where he tried to get slaves to work for other plantation owners. And then it's during this last journey that he is shipwrecked and finds himself on a desert island when he's the only survivor. The second part of the book is characterized by being a journal, the journal that he kept while stranded on the island. Even if at first he called it the island of despair, he was able to overcome, to face the hardship that he encountered there, thanks to resilience, strength, and cleverness. That's why he made himself master of the island. And later he met also a savage that he rescued called Friday, and was converted by him to Christianity, and he also taught him his language and his culture, even taught him how to use a gun. The third part is going back to England, to civilization, with Friday as his servant. There are some features that make this story typically set in the Age of Reason. First of all, it's written in the first person and it looks like an autobiography. But there is also a preface that was added exactly like in Moll Flanders. In this preface, the author states that the book is realistic. It's not fictional, but it tells about a true story. So we believe that Robinson Crusoe really existed, while it's just realistic in its use of details, but it was fictional, of course, even if it was based on accounts of real castaways. Even the style is a matter of fact, simple, crystal clear, we can say, according to the dictates of the Royal Society. And also because of this, we have no access to what is inside, to feelings, emotions. What we know is what he does, his actions, and the events that occur to him. All this is connected to one of the themes of the book, that is the idea that man's sin can be cleansed only through hard work and effort. So there is no plot, because what we know is what he does is endeavors to turn the island of despair into a kind of paradise. And all it's written, as I have already stated, in a diary-like sequence. Three possible interpretations are those that we have to bear in mind. The first one can be the religious allegory. It's a book with a lot of Puritan elements, and it deals with man's redemption from sin, which means that differently from Roman Catholics who asked God for salvation, here salvation was possible thanks to one's own efforts and hard work, which it does. The economic allegory, it's characterized by the fact that we can see the island as a place where capitalism grows and develops. When Robinson Crusoe arrives on the island, the first thing that he does is to start considering parts of it his own property, and then later the island itself. And the typical symbolic example is the fact that after building a shelter that is in the form of a house, he puts a fence around it, a fence to protect his possession against the other intruders. He has no boss, but even if he has no boss, he sets himself a routine that he strictly follows. All these are features that make him the typical self-made man of capitalism. A third allegory is the imperialistic one, as Edward Said wrote. There is a white man, a European, that creates his own, that becomes the master of a non-European island. What was happening with Britain, that was convinced of the inherent superiority of white men over natives. And because of this, they needed to be civilized, exactly like Friday, who is considered a savage. So, because of this, we don't know much about Friday, what he thinks, what was his past, because what we know, Friday is born when Crusoe starts teaching English, and first of all, before that, even naming him, because Friday is not his original name, but it was given by Crusoe to remind him of the day in which he met and saved him. So even if there is a master-slave relationship that might be reminiscent of The Tempest by Shakespeare and the relationship between Prospero and Caliban, here things are really different, because Friday never rebels, never curses his master, and he continues being fond of him and totally submitted.